One Question is designed to give subscribers valuable insights on how executive leaders in college athletics think about key issues on their respective campuses, in their departments, or within their leagues and conferences.
Greetings, this is Ty Brown and welcome to One Question, where we highlight executive leaders in college athletics. Our guest today is Kelley Hartley Hutton. Kelley is currently the Director of Athletics at Purdue Fort Wayne, and she's been in that position since 2014. Greetings, Kelley. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks, Ty.
Now, Kelley, you've been at Purdue Fort Wayne for a while. For a long time, you were the women's volleyball coach, the Senior Associate Athletics Director, and the Senior Woman Administrator. There was some overlap there when you were the interim AD, and then, of course, in 2014, they named you as Director of Athletics. Now, when you took over, when you got in the chair, the school was called Indiana University, Purdue University, Fort Wayne, and the athletics department was IPFW Athletics. At some point in the process of you being there, you made a decision that the school needed to be rebranded to, at the time, it was Fort Wayne Athletics or the Fort Wayne Mastadons. Can you talk to me about that process of when you decided that change needed to happen, and then when you decided it, what exactly was the process of changing it?
Yeah, sure thing, because it was a long one. Change is hard and it takes a while. And yeah, I coached volleyball 20 years, 15 here, and that's an important, I think, piece to this conversation, because as a coach, I wore that acronym on my chest proudly for many years, but it presented challenges.
Right.
Acronyms are confusing. People were always making a mistake and had these preconceived notions when you talk about an acronym school. So I lived that for many years in the recruiting chair and would have to explain, and that's not always a good first impression when you have to explain what you are, right? Mm-hmm. I'd have to explain that Indiana and Purdue came together and made a baby in Fort Wayne, and it's IPFW or something like that, right? So a 16-year-old prospective student kind of understood what I was talking about with these degrees, both Big Ten institutions offering degrees on our campus. And from a recruiting standpoint, it was a wonderful thing because those degrees carry so much weight, and students they very much wanted those degrees in an environment like Fort Wayne, Indiana, that's a little smaller, and for college athletics maybe suits their needs a little bit better. But again, back to that acronym, it was tough. It was challenging, and then people would call us. There are all these mistakes out there. IU, PU, Fort Wayne. Nope, that's not us.
Right.
We do that for a while and dance, and then what happened was the Summit League actually studied this because they other members at the time. UMKC was in the league, and for a while they were known as Kansas City, and some other campuses too. Nebraska, University of Nebraska Omaha. They go by Omaha now. And other leagues were doing it. Green Bay, Wisconsin, there used to be UWGB, and the Milwaukee School. So this was going on in college athletics, and we kind of went partway in. The Summit League was calling us one thing, and that was Fort Wayne, but our campus didn't strategically make the change, and that was what I proposed when it was probably my second year in the chair, and I said, it's time for this. And as far as process, you ask about process, and it's always important that you get your chancellor, your president involved. So went directly to her and did a presentation. She liked it enough where she said, you know what, you need some help though if we're going to do this, we need to study it, we need more data, we need case study. And there was a very good firm in town, and I happen to be friends with those folks, and they helped me with some other projects, and it's a marketing firm, and that's what they did. They went out and they talked to a ton of people, did case study, and at the end of the day, did a presentation to our executive team on our campus, our chancellor's executive team. And that day, they did agree that we needed to make this change and be strategic about it. And that means change our logo, say the words Fort Wayne and lose the acronym when it comes to our department as the front porch of this institution, which at the time was IPFW. And as you know, changes since then.
Right, exactly. Now, how involved were you with that firm, that consulting, I guess, third-party firm?
Yeah.
Were you in that process every step of the way?
Yeah, I sure was. So that firm, that one of the owners is on my board, on my advisory board. So I went to him before I even went to my chancellor and said, here's what I want to do. And he kind of put me in the right direction. But then when I knew we had the green light to fly with this, I went back to his group, and I met with them regularly. I showed them what other campuses had done and I thought would be good for ours and beneficial for our campus and our department. I showed them examples that I didn't like so much. We talked about the benefits, as you sell this. When I say sell this, how it becomes attractive to all the stakeholders involved, senior administration on our campus, alumni, business people. Our city, Fort Wayne, I don't know if you know this, Fort Wayne's a pretty cool place to live. We love it here. Mm-hmm. And so our student athletes are really proud to wear that city and represent the city, and the business folks who, of course, we're trying to bring on board, and our alumni base who are proud of this city, they thought it was pretty cool. And so they helped every step of the way and ultimately helped with that presentation. Did a great job, too.
Right. Now, the student athletes and the coaches, tell me about the sequence, right? You went and presented it to the president. The president was on board. So then you had to go talk to the coaches and the student athletes, or was this something you ran by them that this is what I'm thinking about doing? Or tell me about the process of how you got them on board in terms of where they would embrace it and love it, because that's very important, right?
Yeah. Well, and remember, these were my colleagues. These people, the coaches were my colleagues. I was a coach. So I already kind of knocked it around with them plenty over the years. So, and also, remember, they were also, and I as a coach, and I've been in their shoes, literally, I got what they were, I really understood what they were saying about the confusion because I had lived that for so many years. So that was not a tough step, and that was a box really that was, symbolically checked a long time ago.
Right, before you got
Yeah,
right.
Exactly. And in that, the league and our league opponents were already referring to us as Fort Wayne as part of this. I kind of went over that maybe a little too fast. The Summit League, and part of their strategic plan, they had agreed to, all membership had agreed to brand their institutions, their athletics departments as their geographic location. So that's when I was talking about Omaha and Kansas City.
Oh, I got that.
Fort Wayne was part of that. So again, they took off with it. When I say they, league membership in the league office. Our campus didn't do the best job of strategically laying it out and changing our brand.
Oh, I see.
So here we are a couple years in, and people would get confused. Wow, you're if you go to the Summit League website, the standings say Fort Wayne. It refer to you as Fort Wayne.
Right.
Yet, we look in your gym and your gear and your logo, and it says IPFW still. So we just didn't invest in, and it is expensive. I mean, it's not, you talk about letterhead, and we're going through a brand change right now.
Question,
it's everywhere. It's just everywhere.
And I'd imagine all that was a part of the presentation, right? Here's the expense. We need to change everything we have on the walls here. We need to do a whole lot of rebranding in terms of the clothes that we walk around in, uniforms, everything. I imagine all that was a part of it, and the work started after that presentation, and you had to go from there.
Yeah, we really did have to roll up our sleeves and say, okay, this is what it's going to cost to do it. And we did somewhat, I want to say somewhat of a phased-in approach, but then lucky us, at the same time, we also did a change we went to Under Armour.
Oh, yeah.
So we were getting a lot of new gear anyway, and we're able to get that Fort Wayne brand out there and on our student athletes without phasing it in, which I really wasn't a fan of. Like, if you're going to do something with your logo or your brand, you need to do it.
Right. Well, I'm sure that helped with recruiting. The kid that you were probably recruiting in the 11th grade, and then you come back when they're in the 12th grade, and you're like, everything has changed. We're wearing different shoes now. We're everything. It probably helped a whole lot, that whole rebrand.
Our image, it did. It did. I think so.
That's excellent. So that was done a couple of years ago, and over time, and it looks like it was successful. Earlier this year, the the folks there on campus decided to, like, for lack of a better word, to split campus, right? And what I looked at, there's some of the academic programs will be Indiana University, and everything else, I guess the medical will be Indiana University, or health sciences, and everything else will be Purdue University. So now you guys are called Purdue Fort Wayne. Purdue Fort Wayne Athletics is what I see out there. You'll correct me if I'm wrong on that.
No, you're right. Yep.
Okay, and did you know, as you were planning this and going through the process, that this separation may actually come to pass? Because it seems like this is like, it was fit. Like, if you were trying to do all this at the same time, might have been even more expensive. But since you already laid the groundwork, things worked out.
Well, the short answer is no, we did not know.
Okay.
So back when we were doing the rebrand from IPFW to Fort Wayne Athletics, we did not know, and I don't know what it would have done, really to the process or the outcome even, other than maybe we would have pumped the brakes just a little bit, because if change was coming anyway, rather than do a couple rebrands in 3 years, we would have maybe just waited to do one. But, so people on our campus, though, were not the decision makers ultimately. Remember, there were people off of our campus and outside of our campus that, what IPFW once was, our identity as these two institutions that were about 50-50 in terms of the makeup of academic programs on our campus. They decided, IU and Purdue decided to split and to separate their partnership. So, and you're also right, Ty, very good, the three medical majors, nursing, medical imaging, and dental hygiene is the third. Dental hygiene is the third. They took those three majors, about 1,100 students.
Oh, wow.
So IU Fort Wayne is doing their thing with those three majors. All of the other majors then now became Purdue majors. So which means that it was once a business degree was an IU degree on this campus, and that's now a Purdue degree. Same with education and everything else. So lots of work over the last couple of years preparing students. I mean, our recruiting had to change, and we couldn't recruit nurses anymore.
Right.
Now the reality is 15 years as a head coach here at this institution, I had one volleyball player
right.
that majored in nursing. Just not a happy marriage, right? Division I athletics and the rigors of a nursing program. It can be done, but didn't happen very often. So it wasn't a debilitating blow in terms of the student athletes we were recruiting, but we needed to plan for it because there were a few, and we did need to help the students who were in those what were IU degrees, like education and business, for example. And there's a teach-out period, and we had to make sure that they were graduating and not impacted, in their eligibility anyway. And so we made it through all of that. But then towards the end, now the conversation today, this rebrand again. And, we had to rebrand again to align with our institution as the front porch of this institution to represent what the university is doing from a strategic standpoint.
Well, it looks like from the outside looking in. Of course, I'm not there, but from the outside looking in, it looks like everything is falling in place, and the inherent genius on campus is the athletics director who made the change to Fort Wayne Mastadons a couple years ago, and now here we are, and the campus splits, and we already know what the process is, so we'll just continue on with this rebrand and do what we know how to do already.
Yeah, and with rebranding a whole institution, of course, athletics, we want to be out in front of that. We want to,
exactly.
That's what we do in athletics, right? We help our institution
exactly
with these sort of changes, and because we're so visible and our stakeholders are so invested and so deeply passionate about it. Now, with that, I won't lie to you and say that it was easy at all times,
right,
because
alumni
are so, they're so passionate about what their colors are and what their school is called, and how they feel about the 4 or 5 years, or in some cases more, on your campus. Those are some years we all just reflect on and don't want anything to change about that time, right, in our lives. Well, here we are saying, okay, we're we're changing some colors, and at Purdue, we're going to proudly wear Purdue above the Fort Wayne because that symbolizes, that's our identity now. That's
Right.
who we are.
Exactly. Well, Kelley, this has been an excellent conversation in terms of the process. There's a lot of change that happened since you took over in 2014, and it sounds like it's all been to the positive, and it actually, I would say that it needed the right person to be in a leadership role to make it happen. I really appreciate you joining us here on One Question.
Well, thank you, Ty. I appreciate the opportunity.
That was Kelley Hartley Hutton. She is the Director of Athletics at Purdue Fort Wayne. She's been there since 2014 and has led the athletics department through a number of changes, including rebranding and also helping the school to rebrand the entire campus. And this is Ty Brown with One Question. And keep in mind, the role of a leader is to create and maintain an environment that people want to be a part of. And as always, be better tomorrow than you are today. This episode of One Question is produced by Spades Media Group, solving problems using creative leadership.